Most people think change begins with a dramatic decision, a bold declaration, a sudden burst of motivation. You wake up one morning and decide to become a new person. That story sounds good. It rarely works. Real change usually starts somewhere quieter. It begins with something almost invisible, a choice so small it feels harmless, a short walk, one page read, one glass of water, one sentence written. Nothing heroic, nothing impressive, and yet over time, these tiny actions begin to bend the direction of your life. This is the core idea behind Atomic Habits by Atomic Habits, written by James Clear. The book is not about overnight transformations. It is about how small habits, repeated consistently, quietly compound into remarkable results. The word atomic matters. In science, an atom is small, almost insignificant on its own, yet atoms are the building blocks of everything. In the same way, habits are small behaviors. They feel too minor to matter, but they are the building blocks of identity, success, failure, character, and destiny. James Clear did not write this book from a place of theory alone. As a teenager, he suffered a severe baseball injury that nearly ended his career. Recovery was slow, painful, unremarkable day to day. Progress came from tiny actions repeated over years. That lived experience shaped a philosophy that runs through the entire book. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. This idea lands hard in the modern world. We live in a culture obsessed with outcomes. Lose 10 kilos, make $1 million, write a book, build a following. We set goals, we announce them, we chase them, and when we fail, we blame motivation, discipline, or ourselves. Atomic Habits flips the focus. Goals are not the problem, systems are. A goal is a result you want. A system is the process that leads to that result. Winners and losers often share the same goals. What separates them is what they do daily when no one is watching. Another reason this book matters now is distraction. Your attention is constantly pulled. Notifications, feeds, noise. In this environment, relying on willpower is a losing strategy. Clear shows that environment shapes behavior more than motivation does. Change the room and you change the habit. Design your surroundings and you design your future. At the heart of the book lies one powerful idea. Identity comes first. Most people try to change from the outside in. They focus on outcomes, then processes. Identity is last. Atomic Habits argues for the opposite. Change who you believe you are, then your habits follow. Every small action becomes a vote for the type of person you want to become. No single vote decides the election, but over time, the pattern becomes clear. Throughout this journey, you will encounter 4 simple laws of behavior change. Make habits obvious, make them attractive, make them easy, make them satisfying. These laws explain why habits form and how they can be reshaped. They are practical. They are human. They work with psychology instead of fighting it. This is not a book about perfection. It is about direction. You do not need to be flawless. You need to be consistent. Progress is not linear. Growth is delayed. Results lag behind effort. Many people quit in this gap. Atomic Habits teaches you how to stay. As we move chapter by chapter, think of this not as advice to consume, but as a mirror to hold up to your own life. What systems are you running every day without noticing? What identity are your habits reinforcing? And if nothing changes, where will those small actions lead you 5 years from now? This journey is about becoming 1% better, not once, every day. Chapter 1: The Surprising Power of Atomic Habits. Imagine 2 people starting today. The first improves by 1% each day. The second declines by 1% each day. On day 1, the difference between them is invisible. On day 10, still hard to notice. But after a year, the gap is enormous. One person has quietly transformed. The other has quietly drifted backward. This is where Atomic Habits begins, with a simple but uncomfortable truth. Success is not usually the result of one big decision. Failure is not usually the result of one big mistake. Both are the product of daily habits that seem too small to matter. James Clear opens the book with a story from the world of professional cycling. For years, British cycling was average, sometimes worse than average. They lost races, they lacked prestige, sponsors stayed away. Then a new coach arrived and focused on something radical. Not massive overhauls, not motivational speeches, small improvements everywhere. They optimized bike seats, hand-washing routines, sleep environments, clothing fabric, massage gels, tiny changes stacked on top of each other. Each improvement alone was forgettable. Together, they changed everything. Within a few years, British cyclists dominated the Olympics and the Tour de France. This is the math of habits. Small gains compound. Small losses compound too. Reading 10 pages a day feels trivial. Not reading at all feels harmless. But zoom out far enough and the outcomes are worlds apart. The problem is that habits delay the rewards. Bad habits feel good now and cost you later. Good habits feel costly now and reward you later. This creates what Clear calls the plateau of latent potential. You put in effort, you see nothing. You feel stuck. Most people quit here. Picture an ice cube in a cold room. The temperature rises slowly, 25 degrees, 26, 27, nothing happens. Then at 32 degrees, the ice melts. The change did not happen at that moment. It was building the whole time. Habits work the same way. This explains why people often fail right before success. They do not see progress because they are measuring outcomes instead of systems. They expect linear growth in a world that runs on compounding. Clear makes another important distinction here. Goals determine direction. Systems determine progress. If you focus only on goals, you remain trapped in a cycle of temporary change. You succeed, you relax, you slide back. Systems stay, goals pass. Think about fitness. Reaching a target weight is a goal. Becoming someone who trains daily is a system. One lasts briefly, the other reshapes a life. The deeper message of this chapter is patience. Habits are not about intensity, they are about trajectory. If you are improving, even slowly, you are winning. If your habits are pulling you backward, even slightly, time will amplify that too. Key takeaway: small habits do not add up, they compound. Next, we move deeper, not into what you want to achieve, but into who you believe you are becoming. Chapter 10: How to Find and Fix the Causes of Bad Habits. Bad habits do not appear out of nowhere. They are not random flaws in your character. They are learned responses. They exist because at some point they worked. This chapter asks you to stop fighting the habit on the surface and start looking underneath it. James Clear introduces a powerful idea here. Every bad habit is the inversion of a good one. The same four-step loop is always running. Cue, craving, response, reward. To break a bad habit, you reverse the laws. Make it invisible. Make it unattractive. Make it difficult. Make it unsatisfying. But before you do any of that, you must understand one thing. The craving is the real driver. The habit is only the vehicle. You are not addicted to social media. You are craving connection, novelty, or escape. You are not addicted to junk food. You are craving comfort, relief, or reward. You are not procrastinating because you are lazy. You are avoiding discomfort, uncertainty, or fear. This reframing changes everything. When you stop labeling habits as bad and start asking what problem they are trying to solve, curiosity replaces shame. Clear explains that habits are associations. Over time, your brain links a feeling to a behavior. Stress leads to scrolling. Boredom leads to snacking. Loneliness leads to distraction. The behavior becomes automatic because the association is strong. To change the habit, you must reframe the craving. Instead of seeing exercise as pain, you see it as stress relief. Instead of seeing saving money as restriction, you see it as freedom. Instead of seeing focus as deprivation, you see it as clarity. This is not positive thinking. It is reinterpretation. You are changing the meaning of the behavior. Clear gives a subtle but important insight. The same cue can trigger a different response if the meaning changes. When the craving shifts, the habit follows. He also emphasizes friction. Bad habits thrive when they are easy. If you want to stop a behavior, increase the effort required. Log out, add steps, create distance. Even small barriers matter. Most people try to quit bad habits with motivation alone. That rarely works. Systems work. Key takeaway: you do not eliminate bad habits, you replace them with better solutions to the same problem. Next, we move into one of the most misunderstood parts of change: why progress feels slow and how to stay consistent when results lag behind effort. Chapter 11. Walk slowly but never backward. Progress often feels disappointing up close. You show up, you repeat the habit, you do the work, and nothing seems to change. No visible reward, no clear signal that it is working. This is where most people stop. James Clear returns to a central idea here. Habits reward consistency, not intensity. You do not need perfect days, you need repeatable days. This chapter explains why mastery is boring. Improvement comes from showing up when enthusiasm fades. The first few weeks feel exciting. After that, the habit becomes ordinary. Ordinary is where growth actually happens. Clear revisits the plateau of latent potential. Results lag behind effort. This delay creates frustration. People confuse lack of results with lack of progress. They quit because the feedback is slow. The key insight is simple. Missing once is an accident. Missing twice is the beginning of a new habit. Clear introduces the idea of never missing twice. Life happens. You get sick. You travel. You fail. That is normal. What matters is the next action. You return to the habit quickly. This rule protects identity. One missed workout does not make you someone who quits. 2 missed workouts start to build that story. Consistency does not mean doing the same amount every day. It means keeping the vote alive. Even the smallest version counts. This chapter quietly removes pressure. You stop demanding visible progress. You start respecting repetition. Key takeaway: success is the product of daily habits repeated, not heroic effort. Next, we will explore why humans naturally choose easy paths and how to use that tendency instead of fighting it. Chapter 12. The Law of Least Effort. Human behavior follows a simple rule. We do what is easiest. This is not a flaw, it is efficiency. Your brain is designed to conserve energy. When given multiple options, it chooses the one that requires the least effort. James Clear calls this the law of least effort, and it explains why habits form the way they do. You do not choose habits because they are good for you, you choose them because they are convenient. This is why bad habits spread easily. Fast food is easier than cooking. Scrolling is easier than thinking. Watching is easier than creating. Instead of fighting this tendency, Clear suggests using it. If you want to build a good habit, reduce friction. Make it easier to start. Remove steps. Prepare in advance. Set things up so the habit almost happens by accident. Lay out your workout clothes the night before. Keep your guitar within reach. Open the document before you sit down. Preparation is not extra work, it is the work. If you want to break a bad habit, add friction. Increase the number of steps, add time, add inconvenience, log out, put the phone in another room, delete saved cards. Even small barriers change behavior. Clear gives a powerful reminder. You do not need to make habits hard, you need to make them easy enough to repeat. The goal is not maximum effort, the goal is minimum resistance. Key takeaway: habits stick when they follow the path of least resistance. Next, we focus on one of the most practical rules in the book: how starting small can unlock long-term consistency. Chapter 13. How to stop procrastinating by using the 2-minute rule. Most people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do if they just start. Procrastination is not usually about laziness. It is about avoidance. Big tasks create mental resistance. The brain delays to escape discomfort. James Clear offers a simple solution, the 2-minute rule. When you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. This sounds trivial. It is also powerful. Read before bed becomes read 1 page. Write daily becomes write 1 sentence. Run regularly becomes put on running shoes. The point is not the result. The point is the ritual of showing up. Once you start, momentum often carries you forward, but even if it does not, the habit is preserved. You reinforced the identity. This rule works because it lowers the psychological barrier to action. You stop negotiating. You stop waiting to feel ready. Clear explains that habits are gateways. The first action opens the door. Master the habit of starting, and consistency follows. Many people fail because they try to optimize performance before they build consistency. The 2-minute rule flips that. You optimize for attendance. Key takeaway: a habit must be easy to start before it can be easy to sustain. Next, we will explore how to lock habits in place using commitment and structure. Chapter 14: How to make good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible. At some point, motivation will fail. Discipline will weaken. Life will interrupt. This is not a personal failure. It is reality. James Clear argues that lasting change requires something stronger than intention. It requires structure. This chapter introduces commitment devices, a choice you make in advance that locks in future behavior. A commitment device removes choice at the moment of weakness. You decide once, so you do not have to decide again. Examples are simple but powerful. You schedule workouts with a trainer, so skipping costs money. You use website blockers during work hours. You automate savings so money moves before you can spend it. The key idea is this: you make bad habits difficult and good habits unavoidable. Clear also talks about automation as a form of commitment. When a habit runs without effort, it stops depending on mood. Bills get paid, money gets saved, tasks get done. The deeper message is responsibility without pressure. You are not forcing yourself every day. You are designing a system that carries you forward. Key takeaway: the best habits are built into the system, not left to chance. Next, we turn to the role of reward and why timing matters more than intensity. Chapter 15: The Cardinal Rule of Behavior Change. Every habit is pulled forward by one force: reward. You repeat what feels good. You avoid what feels bad. This rule operates whether you notice it or not. James Clear calls this the cardinal rule of behavior change. What is rewarded is repeated. What is punished is avoided. The problem is timing. Bad habits are often immediately satisfying. Good habits are often immediately costly. The reward and the cost are reversed. Eating junk food tastes good now. The health cost arrives later. Exercising feels hard now. The benefit arrives later. Your brain is wired to prioritize the present. Survival favored immediate outcomes. This mismatch explains why knowing better does not mean doing better. Clear explains that the brain learns fastest when rewards are immediate. Delayed rewards teach slowly. This is why habits with instant feedback stick more easily. The solution is not to eliminate delayed rewards. It is to add immediate satisfaction to good habits. This does not mean tricking yourself with shallow treats. It means closing the habit loop properly. Clear suggests simple strategies. Track your habits and enjoy the visual progress. Mark an X on the calendar. Move a marble to a jar. Watch the chain grow. The reward is seeing evidence of consistency. Another approach is immediate reinforcement. After finishing a workout, you enjoy a relaxing shower. After completing focused work, you allow a short walk or break. The habit becomes associated with relief or pleasure. Clear also warns about a common trap. If the reward undermines the habit, it backfires. Rewarding exercise with junk food cancels the signal.
The reward must align with the identity you are building. Over time, something deeper happens. The habit itself becomes satisfying. You enjoy the feeling of being consistent. You enjoy keeping promises to yourself. Pride replaces pleasure. This is when habits shift from effort to identity. Key takeaway: good habits must feel satisfying now, not just meaningful later. Next, we will explore how tracking and visibility help habits survive boredom and distraction.
Chapter 16. How to stick with good habits every day. Consistency sounds simple. It is not. The challenge is not knowing what to do. The challenge is doing it when nothing feels urgent, when progress is slow, when the habit feels ordinary. James Clear explains that what gets measured gets managed. Tracking turns invisible progress into something you can see. Habit tracking works because it makes success visible. Each mark is evidence. You showed up. You kept the promise. The chain grows. This matters more than people realize. When effort feels abstract, motivation fades. When progress is visible, commitment strengthens. Clear shares a story about a man who used a simple system. Each day he wrote, he put a check mark on the calendar. The goal was not perfection. The goal was not breaking the chain. This creates a powerful feedback loop. The habit produces evidence. The evidence produces motivation. Motivation fuels repetition. Tracking also creates awareness. When you see gaps, you adjust. When you see streaks, you protect them. But Clear adds an important caution. Tracking is a tool, not the goal. People sometimes optimize the metric instead of the behavior. They write words instead of writing well. They show up physically but disengage mentally. The habit becomes hollow. The solution is reflection. Periodically ask yourself if the habit still serves the identity you want. Measurement supports growth. It should not replace meaning. Clear also reminds us of flexibility. If tracking becomes a burden, simplify it. A habit should add energy, not drain it. Key takeaway: tracking makes habits visible, and visibility sustains consistency. Next, we examine how accountability and social commitment reinforce behavior when self-discipline wavers. Chapter 17. How an accountability partner can change everything. Some habits fail not because you forget, but because nothing happens when you break a promise to yourself. The cost is invisible. The consequence is delayed. James Clear explains that we are far more consistent when others are watching. This is not weakness, it is human nature. Reputation matters. Social cost matters. Accountability works because it adds immediate consequences. Clear introduces the idea of an accountability partner, someone who knows your goal, someone who notices when you show up and when you do not. This could be a friend, a coach, a group, or even a public commitment. The form matters less than the function. He also discusses habit contracts, a written agreement that spells out what you will do and what happens if you fail. The penalty creates friction. It raises the stakes. When a habit has social consequences, the brain pays attention. This chapter highlights a deeper truth. Environment is not only physical, it is social. The people around you shape your standards. Key takeaway: accountability turns intentions into actions. Next, we explore how personality, talent, and genetics shape the habits that fit you best. Chapter 18. The truth about talent. For a long time, success has been explained with a simple story. Some people are gifted, others are not. Talent decides the outcome. James Clear offers a calmer and more useful view. Talent matters, but it is not the full story. Habits decide how much of that potential gets used. Genes influence what feels easy, what feels hard, and what feels rewarding. Some people enjoy endurance, some enjoy precision, some thrive on social energy, others prefer solitude. None of this is good or bad, it is information. The mistake most people make is copying habits that worked for someone else without asking a basic question. Does this fit me? Clear explains that habits are easier to build when they align with your natural inclinations. When a habit fits your personality, it feels less like discipline and more like expression. If you enjoy talking, habits involving teaching or discussion will stick more easily. If you enjoy quiet focus, habits involving writing or analysis will feel natural. If you enjoy movement, physical habits will be easier to maintain. This is not an excuse to avoid effort. It is a strategy to choose wisely. Clear introduces a powerful idea here. Play games where the odds are in your favor. You cannot change your genes. You can choose the environment where your genes perform well. A fish will fail at climbing a tree. Put it in water and it thrives. Many people feel lazy or undisciplined simply because they are playing the wrong game. This chapter encourages self-awareness instead of self-judgment. Ask where effort feels lighter. Ask where progress feels sustainable. That is where habits grow. Over time, habits amplify strengths. Skill compounds where interest already exists. Key takeaway: choose habits that fit who you are, not who you wish you were. Next, we explore how to stay motivated once the habit becomes routine and boredom sets in. Chapter 19: The Goldilocks Rule: How to Stay Motivated in Life and Work. The beginning of a habit is exciting. Everything feels new. Progress feels fast. Then something changes. The habit becomes familiar, predictable, boring. This is where many people stop. James Clear explains that long-term success depends on one skill: the ability to keep going when the novelty disappears. He introduces the Goldilocks rule. Humans experience peak motivation when working on tasks that are just challenging enough, not too easy, not too hard. If a habit is too easy, you get bored. If it is too hard, you get discouraged. The sweet spot sits slightly above your current ability. This is why beginners often feel motivated and experts struggle. Beginners see progress quickly. Experts repeat the basics over and over. The work looks the same. The improvement becomes subtle. The danger here is boredom. Boredom is not a lack of ability. It is a lack of engagement. Clear makes a sharp observation. Professionals stick to the schedule. Amateurs let motivation decide. The difference is not passion. It is tolerance for repetition. Great performers fall in love with the process, not because it is always exciting, but because it is meaningful. They expect boredom. They prepare for it. This chapter reframes mastery. It is not about constant inspiration. It is about showing up when the work feels ordinary. Clear suggests small adjustments to stay in the Goldilocks zone. Slightly increase difficulty, add a constraint, track a new metric, change the format without changing the core habit. The goal is not chaos, it is engagement. Key takeaway: success depends on staying consistent when the work stops being exciting. Next, we look at the hidden risk of habits and why reflection matters as much as discipline.
Chapter 2: How Your Habits Shape Your Identity and Vice Versa. Most people start change by asking a surface question: what do I want to achieve? Lose weight, write a book, get disciplined. The question feels logical. It is also incomplete. James Clear invites a deeper question: who do you want to become? This chapter introduces one of the most important ideas in the entire book. Real behavior change is identity change. What you do every day is not just about results. It is a reflection of what you believe about yourself. Clear describes 3 layers of behavior change. The first layer is outcomes. This is what you get: weight loss, money, grades, followers. The second layer is processes.
This is what you do: workouts, writing routines, study systems. The deepest layer is identity. This is who you believe you are: a healthy person, a writer, a learner. Most people work from the outside in. They chase outcomes, they force processes. Identity stays untouched. When motivation fades, behavior collapses. Atomic Habits flips the direction. Work from the inside out. Change identity first. Let habits become proof. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become. No single action defines you, but the pattern does. Skipping one workout does not make you unhealthy. Repeating that pattern does. Writing one paragraph does not make you a writer. Writing regularly does. This explains why habits stick when they align with identity. If you see yourself as someone who does not smoke, refusing a cigarette feels natural. If you see yourself as someone who exercises, missing a workout feels off. Clear gives a simple example. Two people are offered a cigarette. One says, "No thanks, I am trying to quit." The other says, "No thanks, I do not smoke." Same behavior, different identity. One is fragile, one is solid. The goal is not to run a marathon. The goal is to become a runner. The goal is not to read books. The goal is to become a reader. When identity leads, habits follow. This shift changes how you think about progress. You stop asking, "Did I succeed today?" You start asking, "Did I act like the person I want to become?" Identity is not chosen once. It is built slowly, habit by habit, day by day. Your identity is a living pattern, not a fixed label. Key takeaway: your habits are how you become yourself. Next, we will break habits down into their simplest form and see how they actually work under the surface.
Chapter 20: The Downside of Creating Good Habits. Habits are powerful. That is why they must be handled with care. James Clear ends the main body of the book with a warning that feels quiet but important. The same habits that build success can also trap you. When a behavior becomes automatic, you stop thinking about it. This is usually the goal: less effort, less friction, more consistency. But there is a risk. When habits become too rigid, identity can harden. You stop adapting. You stop questioning. You cling to routines even when they no longer serve you. Clear calls this the identity trap. If your identity becomes too tightly wrapped around one role, change feels like loss. If you see yourself only as a certain kind of person, any deviation feels like failure. Athletes struggle when their career ends. High achievers struggle when rest feels like weakness. Productive people struggle when slowing down feels wrong. The habit did its job, then the world changed. Clear reminds us that habits are tools, not truths. They should serve your values, not replace them. This is why reflection matters. You need systems to build progress. You also need review to stay aligned. Clear suggests periodic reflection. What is working? What is no longer useful? Where am I relying on habit when conscious choice is needed? Growth requires flexibility. Identity should be a guide, not a prison. The goal is not to optimize one version of yourself forever. The goal is to remain adaptable while staying grounded. Key takeaway: habits should support growth, not limit it. Next, we zoom out and bring everything together. What does it mean to become 1% better for life?
Conclusion: becoming 1% better for life. Atomic Habits is not really a book about habits. It is a book about direction. James Clear does not promise dramatic breakthroughs. He offers something quieter and more durable, a way to shape your life through small actions repeated consistently. When you zoom out, the message becomes clear. Your life today is largely the result of habits you built years ago. Your life 5 years from now will be shaped by the habits you build today. Not the big decisions you make once, but the small decisions you make again and again. The book gently dismantles the myth of overnight success. There is no single moment where everything changes. There is a system. There is a trajectory. There is a daily vote for the person you are becoming. At the center of it all is identity. You do not change by chasing outcomes. You change by becoming someone new through action. Each habit is evidence. Each repetition reinforces belief. Over time, behavior becomes character. The 4 laws of behavior change give structure to this journey. Make it obvious. Design cues that invite the habit. Make it attractive. Link habits to desire and belonging. Make it easy. Reduce friction. Lower the barrier to action. Make it satisfying. Close the loop with reward and evidence. These laws are not rules to follow once. They are principles to revisit as life changes. Atomic Habits also brings humility into self-improvement. You are not broken. You are human. Your struggles are not moral failures. They are system failures. Change the system and behavior often follows. The book respects psychology instead of fighting it. It works with how people actually behave, not how they wish they behaved. From all of this, a few practical principles stand out. First, focus on systems, not goals. Goals set direction. Systems create progress. Build habits that can carry you even when motivation fades. Second, start smaller than you think is necessary. Consistency beats intensity. Master showing up before you try to master performance. Third, design your environment. Willpower is fragile. Design is reliable. Shape your space so the right actions feel natural. Fourth, measure what matters and review often. Track habits to stay aware, reflect to stay aligned. Do not let identity harden into a cage. Fifth, be patient. Compounding is slow. Progress hides before it appears. Stay long enough for the curve to bend. Perhaps the most powerful idea in the book is also the simplest. You do not need to change everything. You just need to change something small and repeat it. A 1% shift may not feel like progress today, but given time, it changes everything. So the final question is not what habit should you build next. The real question is this: who do you want to become, and what small action can you take today that proves it? Chapter 3: How to Build Better Habits in 4 Simple Steps. If habits shape identity, the next question becomes practical. How do habits actually work? Not in theory, in real life, in your brain, in your daily routines. James Clear breaks every habit down into a simple loop made of 4 steps: cue, craving, response, reward. This loop runs constantly, often without your awareness. A cue is the trigger. It is the signal that tells your brain to start a behavior. It can be a time, a place, an emotion, a person, or an action that just happened. You wake up. You feel bored. You see your phone. You enter the kitchen. A craving is the desire that follows the cue. You do not crave the habit itself. You crave the change in state it promises. You do not crave scrolling. You crave relief from boredom. You do not crave brushing your teeth. You crave a clean mouth. Cravings give habits their emotional pull. A response is the behavior you actually perform. This is the habit. Open the app. Eat the snack. Go for the walk. Write the sentence. Whether the response happens depends on how motivated you are and how much effort it requires. A reward is the payoff. It satisfies the craving. It teaches your brain that this loop is worth remembering. Rewards close the loop and make the behavior more likely in the future. This 4-step pattern explains why habits form and why they stick.
Habits exist because they solve problems. Even bad habits are solutions. They just solve problems in unhealthy ways. Once you understand this loop, habits stop feeling mysterious. They become predictable, and what is predictable can be changed. Clear introduces the idea of awareness here. You cannot change a habit you do not notice. Many behaviors run on autopilot. You eat without hunger. You check your phone without thinking. You react without choosing. The first skill is noticing the cue. What triggers the behavior? When does it happen? Where? What emotion is present? What happened just before? This is not about guilt, it is about clarity. You are not trying to judge yourself, you are trying to understand yourself. Clear suggests a simple practice, habit scoring. List your daily habits, from waking up to going to sleep. Then label them, positive, negative, neutral. This exercise reveals how much of your life runs on default. The power of this chapter is that it gives you a map. You stop fighting habits blindly. You start working with the system that already exists in your brain. Key takeaway: all habits follow the same four-step loop. Change the loop, and you change the habit. Next, we will focus on the first step, how to make your habits visible instead of invisible.
Chapter 4. The Man Who Did Not Look Right. Making Habits Obvious. There's a strange kind of blindness that comes with familiarity. You stop noticing what surrounds you, the furniture, the signs, the cues that quietly shape your behavior every day. James Clear opens this chapter with a story from a hospital. A nurse noticed something odd. A man walked into a cardiac unit and she immediately sensed that he did not belong. His posture, his movement, something felt wrong. She called for a doctor. The man was having a heart attack. Her insight was not magic, it was training. Years of exposure had tuned her awareness. She noticed cues others missed. Habits work the same way. Experts notice patterns. Most people do not. Your environment is full of signals that trigger behavior. Food on the counter, phone on the table, notifications on the screen. These cues shape your actions more than intention ever does. Clear makes a bold claim. Behavior is not driven by motivation, it is driven by what is obvious. If you want to build better habits, the first law is simple: make it obvious. The problem is that many cues have become invisible through repetition. You do not think about grabbing your phone, you just do it. The cue and the action collapse into one. This is why awareness must come first. Until you see the cue, you cannot change the response. Clear revisits habit scoring here. When you label your habits, you pull them out of autopilot. You turn unconscious behavior into conscious choice. Then comes environment design. Instead of asking, how can I be more disciplined, ask, how can I make the good habit the default? If you want to read more, place a book where you can see it. If you want to practice guitar, leave it on a stand in the middle of the room. If you want to eat healthier, put fruit on the counter and hide the junk food. The inverse works too. If you want to break a bad habit, make its cues invisible. Remove the app, hide the snacks, turn off notifications. Out of sight really does mean out of mind. Clear also introduces implementation intentions, a clear plan for when and where a habit will happen. Not, I will exercise more. Instead, I will exercise at 7 in the morning in my living room. Specificity removes ambiguity. Ambiguity kills habits. The environment does not just influence you, it programs you. When you shape it intentionally, you stop relying on willpower. Key takeaway: you do not need more self-control, you need better cues. Next, we will look at how to attach new habits to old ones and make starting almost automatic.
Chapter 5. The best way to start a new habit. Most habits fail at the same point, the beginning. You know what to do, you even want to do it.
But when the moment arrives, friction appears, confusion, delay, choice, and then the habit never starts. James Clear argues that clarity is more powerful than motivation. When a habit has a clear starting point, it has a fighting chance. This chapter builds on two simple ideas: implementation intentions and habit stacking. An implementation intention turns a vague goal into a specific plan. Instead of saying, "I will meditate more," you decide, "I will meditate for 2 minutes at 6:30 in the morning after brushing my teeth." This level of detail matters. It removes the need to decide in the moment. The brain loves certainty. When the cue arrives, the response follows. Habit stacking goes a step further. It uses existing habits as anchors for new ones. After I do this, I will do that. Your day is already full of habits. You wake up, you brush your teeth, you make tea, you check your phone. These routines are stable. You can attach new behaviors to them. After I pour my morning coffee, I will write 1 sentence. After I sit on my bed at night, I will read 1 page. After I close my laptop, I will plan tomorrow. This works because the cue is already built in. You are not creating a habit from nothing. You are extending a chain that already exists. Clear emphasizes starting small, almost absurdly small. Not because the goal is small, but because consistency matters more than intensity. If a habit feels too big, you will resist it. If it feels easy, you will repeat it. Repetition is what wires behavior. This chapter quietly shifts your mindset. You stop asking, "How much should I do?" You start asking, "How can I make it easy to show up?" Key takeaway: a habit should be obvious and anchored to something you already do. Next, we will challenge a popular myth, the idea that motivation is the main driver of change.
Chapter 6. Motivation is overrated. Environment often matters more. People love the idea of motivation. It feels heroic. You imagine waking up focused, energized, unstoppable. Then reality shows up. You feel tired, distracted, flat. The plan collapses. James Clear delivers a calm but powerful correction. Motivation is unreliable. Environment is dependable. If motivation were enough, habits would be easy. You would not struggle to eat well, exercise, or focus. The truth is simpler. Your surroundings quietly shape your behavior long before motivation gets a chance. Look at how you actually live. You eat what is visible. You scroll what is nearby. You work where it feels natural to work. The environment does not just support habits, it selects them. Clear explains that every habit is initiated by a cue. Many of those cues live in your physical space. A phone on your desk invites distraction. A TV in the bedroom invites late nights. A bowl of snacks invites mindless eating. People with strong habits are not better at resisting temptation, they are better at avoiding it. This is a crucial reframe. Self-control is not about saying no, it is about not needing to say no in the first place. The practical lesson is simple. Design your environment so the good habit is the path of least resistance. If you want to practice piano, place it in the main living area. If you want to work deeply, clear your desk. If you want to stop checking social media, remove the apps from your phone. Not hide them, remove them. Clear introduces the idea of one space, one purpose. When a space has multiple meanings, habits compete. A bed used for sleep and scrolling confuses the brain. A desk used for work and entertainment does the same. When you assign a clear purpose to a space, behavior follows naturally. This chapter is freeing. It removes moral judgment. You are not lazy, you are responding to the environment you are in. Change the environment, and the behavior often changes without effort. Key takeaway: discipline follows design. Next, we will explore self-control more deeply and why avoiding temptation beats resisting it every time.
Chapter 7. The Secret to Self-Control. Self-control is often praised as a personal virtue. Strong people resist temptation. Weak people give in. This story feels simple. it is also wrong. James Clear points to a surprising truth. People with the best self-control do not use it very often. When researchers study disciplined individuals, they do not find constant inner battles. They find fewer battles to begin with. These people structure their lives so temptations rarely appear. This flips the usual advice. The goal is not to become stronger. The goal is to become smarter. Resisting temptation is hard because it drains mental energy. Every decision costs something. When you rely on willpower, you fight the same fight again and again. Eventually, you lose. Avoiding temptation is different. It removes the fight entirely. Clear explains that habits are cue-driven. If the cue never appears, the habit never starts. This is why environment matters more than self-control. If you want to eat less junk food, do not test your discipline in the kitchen. Remove the junk food. If you want to focus, do not trust your willpower in front of notifications. Turn them off. The best way to break a bad habit is not to stop doing it. It is to stop exposing yourself to the cue that triggers it. This does not mean isolation or perfection. It means awareness and design. You choose where you place friction. Clear also reminds us that self-control is context-dependent. You may feel disciplined at work and impulsive at home. This is not a character flaw. It is environmental influence. Once you understand this, guilt fades. Responsibility remains. You stop blaming yourself and start adjusting the system. Key takeaway: the most disciplined people shape their environment, so they rarely need discipline. Next, we shift from resisting habits to reshaping desire itself. How do you make good habits feel attractive instead of forced? Chapter 8. How to make a habit irresistible. Every habit begins with desire. You do not act without wanting something. The wanting may be quiet, it may be unconscious, but it is always there. James Clear explains that dopamine is not the chemical of pleasure, it is the chemical of anticipation. You act because you expect a reward. The stronger the expectation, the stronger the pull. This is why habits that promise immediate satisfaction are so powerful. Scrolling, sugar, entertainment. They light up anticipation before you even act. Good habits often lose this battle. Exercise feels hard now. Reading feels slow now. Writing feels effortful now. The reward sits somewhere in the future. Clear does not suggest fighting desire. He suggests redirecting it. The second law of behavior change is simple. Make it attractive. One of the most practical tools in this chapter is temptation bundling. You pair a habit you want to build with something you already enjoy. You only watch your favorite show while exercising. You only listen to a podcast you love while cleaning. You only drink your best coffee while writing. The habit borrows motivation from the reward. Clear also explores the social side of attraction. We imitate the habits of those around us. If your culture praises a behavior, it becomes desirable. If your group practices it, you follow. This is why joining the right community matters. When a habit is normal, it stops feeling like effort. It feels like belonging. The deeper insight here is emotional. Habits stick when they align with desire, not duty, not guilt, not pressure. If you want habits to last, they must feel rewarding before they become meaningful. Key takeaway: you are more likely to repeat habits that feel good in anticipation. Next, we will explore how the people around you quietly shape what you consider normal. Chapter 9. The role of family and friends in shaping habits. Human beings are social by design. Long before logic or planning, we learned by watching others. This instinct never left. It simply became quieter. James Clear explains that many of your habits are borrowed. You imitate not because you decide to, but because fitting in feels safe. We copy the habits of three groups: the close, family and friends;
Their behavior feels familiar and trusted. The many, the larger group, culture, society, trends, what feels normal. The powerful, those with status, leaders, influencers, people we admire. When a behavior is rewarded by the group, it becomes attractive. When it is punished, it becomes risky. This is why habits often change when you change environments. Clear gives a simple but important insight. If you want to build better habits, join a culture where the desired behavior is normal. If you want to read, spend time with readers. If you want to train, surround yourself with people who train. If you want to build something meaningful, find builders. This is not about pressure. It is about identity reinforcement. When everyone around you does the habit, it stops feeling like self-improvement. It feels like belonging. The flip side is also true. If your environment rewards bad habits, change becomes harder. You may need to adjust boundaries or choose your influences more carefully. Clear is realistic here. You cannot always change the people around you, but you can choose the groups you engage with most. Key takeaway: habits become easier when they align with social norms. Next, we turn to the opposite direction: how to break bad habits by understanding the craving behind them.